Hi, this is Kapun Piso. We have a new nation, a new Christian nation in the world, South Sudan. And of course, a piece of shit, Christ-psychotic imbecile, Franklin Graham, that belongs to the mental institution along with his 90-year-old dad. They were all, of course, over there to celebrate. Let me explain to you about Sudan, the history of it, backed up with facts, because I don't bullshit. I just tell it like it is, and I'm going to tell the history by connecting all the dots of Sudan and all the problems.
That's very good.
New nation.
It seems like it is
South Sudan.
To look forward.
Psychosis infected nation.
Over a 50-year span of civil wars.
Yeah. Muslims against Muslim psychotics against Christ psychotics in the south.
Vote.
That is the
And now they split.
outcome.
They don't know the history of Sudan.
Life, and we paid a lot of challenges.
Thanks to religious psychosis, these people having at each other. Throat.
Until we come. So when we went for referendum, the same spirit.
And Franklin Graham, the Christ psychotic imbecile,
we are going to take tonight.
went over there to, you know, with all these Christ psychotic people, the new nation.
Has come to an end.
So in natural resources, rich in oil, rich in farmland.
Yeah, and also Christ psychotic.
Worry that this separation, these two nations.
Christianity has infected these people, keeping them ignorant and retarded and
new
stupid.
reasons for more war or new peace.
I feel it is a blessing.
Blessing.
Because infrastructure.
Christ psychotic blessing.
If you look at
Fighting against the Muslim psychotics.
right now, there's hardly anything. And so this.
They don't know their history. They don't know about the Crusades with the 1100s.
We don't have. We need to.
And all the invasion of the Christ psychotic imbecile British into
How
Sudan,
do you find yourself
the
going to
1880s.
your new country anytime soon?
See, they don't know that much of the history.
Yeah.
Despicable Christians, Christ psychotic British, was the one that began all these divisions in these countries against the Muslims
And also, I'm
that controlled the region, just like they did during the Crusades. And they were against the Jews and against the Muslims, against anybody that was not
I
Christian.
know America has given me a lot.
Yeah, Christ psychotic infected America, yes.
Job, I was able to, because by being here,
These people don't know the history of
I
Sudan.
know even though
How Christianity, the psychopathy of Christianity, they screwed up this country.
Iraq.
Now have a new Christian nation, South Many Sudan. do not realize that there was a Mahdi in the Sudan. Mahdi means anointed by God, redeemer, prophet, just like Bin Laden. In the 1880s, he wanted to get rid of all these Christian invaders in Sudan, you know, especially the British Christ psychotics. So anyway, but there was this man, this colonel named Gordon, that was a Christ psychotic, Bible thumper moron, and his shit didn't stink, and he went over there and to try to fight these people, and went into Khartoum and and then the Mahdi came around and ended up defeating him and chopping his head off, and he surely deserved it. Now, this is a picture of Bible-thumping, Christ-psychotic British, the Christ-psychotic, ignorant imbecile that was also a homosexual. He lost his head in Khartoum, in Sudan. You know, the British Christ-psychotic imbeciles trying to spread their garbage Christianity on all these people, on the Islam psychotics, that they already had a psychosis. But this is a piece of shit. You know, Gordon. And now we have another piece of shit called Franklin Graham, a Christ psychotic imbecile that thinks his shit doesn't stink, that should be committed and put in a mental institution. Earlier, around 1858, when Queen Victoria, they conquered India. And India had a lot of crops, and around Afghanistan and all these places, a crop of a lot of opium and different drugs. And it became a cash commodity for the British that started importing it to China. And the Chinese were buying this stuff, and they were forced to, and they get all, eventually they got drug addicted. So the Empress of China, you can see the opium bought here in Caesar's scepter. Well, the Chinese, the Emperor of China complained, and there was war, and they became the Opium Wars. This is what it does to the brain. But anyway, the British defeated the Chinese, of course, and then they got Hong Kong. Chinese gave them Hong Kong for 100 years, and the same thing like Singapore. So this is the history. The cry-psychotic British were drug dealers. We must realize that the fact is that all religions began with the ingestions of psychotropic substance. In other words, entheogens, drugs, over 40,000 years ago. The way you actually control the people, in ancient times they didn't know that. All the religions had orgasm as sexual stimulation, and orgasm, and also the consumption of entheogens. So you can see, God, it affects your brain, and they had no idea that they had the brain right here. They ingested these substances, and they were called sacraments, and they see gods and all that. So this has been going on for a long, long time. And in Afghanistan, they have the open fields. Everywhere has the open fields. Then, of course, you have cry-psychosis infected Europe. You have the Spanish Catholic, which means universal Christianity. And then you have, in the 1500s, Martin Luther and all the protesters, the Protestant cry-psychotics. So there was two fields of cry-psychotic infected imbeciles, that stagnating mind of people. And one of them that was a cry-psychotic infected were the British. You know, after King Henry VIII, that it was a Catholic cry-psychotic, and he turned into a Protestant cry-psychotic, and he decided that he was going to be the head of the Church of England. So the actual the Queen of England right now is the head of the church also. But anyway, then they tried to conquer the world. They fighted the Spaniards. So the middle, 1800s or so, after they defeated Napoleon, there was an atheist, and it was an amazing man, and the British cry-psychotic imbeciles defeated him, and anyway, they went back to the cry-psychotic ways. Later on came Queen Victoria, and then they decided to invade and propagate the stupid, the piece of shit, conniving, money-grabbing British, cry-psychotic infected British, and then ended up conquering everything. They conquered, they went to New Zealand, they went to everywhere. Australia, they put it into sent all the prisoners over there, and that was the British Empire, a cry-psychotic infected, intellectually stagnated, conniving piece of shit Christian British Empire. So they conquered India, and India had all these different religions. But they had also sacraments, opium fields, like in Afghanistan, Pakistan, all that area. So then they come around and decide to start having a commodity with the opium poppies and other drugs, and then try to sell it to the Chinese. They had also kind of defeated the Chinese in many ways. But the Chinese got all pissed off, and after everybody was, an opium dance in China. They were all drug addicts, thanks to the British piece of shit assholes. People don't realize that. The same thing in Afghanistan and all these places. And then the Chinese got all pissed off, and they went over to tell the Queen of England, hey, we don't want to buy more opium from you guys because you're infecting all our population. So that's when the war began, the Opium Wars. And then the British invaded, along with the German partners and all the European cry-psychotic imbeciles that would begin the Opium Wars. And then they end up defeating China because they were superior. And that's when they got Hong Kong and Singapore. See, and they defeated China, and China decided to give the piece of shit British Singapore and Singapore, but I mean Hong Kong, for 100 years. And that's the reason, Hong Kong returned back to the Chinese like a few years ago. Thanks to the piece of shit Christian imbecile British, we have all these problems in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and everywhere. India and all that bunch of stuff that we have. These people are despicable. They're because of all these drug problems. And then you have the cryptocratic infected Americans that came from England, the colonies, and there's another piece of shit assholes. But this is the problem. This is what's happening today. And it actually, they start invading everything. They invaded Africa. They defeated Napoleon, went into Egypt. They conquered Egypt. They were in control of Egypt. They control all those places. And then, of course, they conquer Africa and Sudan and all that. And they send all these piece of shit missionary assholes. And one of them was Gordon, Colonel Gordon, which is friend of also the head of the Boy Scouts. That is also gay, that piece of shit. But anyway, this Bible thumper asshole Gordon went into the Sudan and became a general, and then he adopted all those titles of the Islamic titles. And then there was a guy just like Bin Laden called the Mahdi, and he got all pissed off, and he said, "I'm inspired by God. I want to kick all the infidels out of the country, just like Bin Laden wants to do in Saudi Arabia and all that. Kick all the Americans out. Same thing, different time." And then Gordon, went to Khartoum and started having a cartoon. Then the Mahdi got it. The Mahdi means a God-anointed person, or the one with the revelations. It's a priest. It's like Bin Laden. And the Mahdi, that's what Mahdi means. So he came around, he gathered all these people, and ended up getting back to Khartoum and actually defeating all the garrison and everybody in Khartoum, all those invaders, piece of shit Christians, and he cut the head off of the piece of shit Gordon. So that's what happened. People don't realize the history. And then they've been going at it because all these Christian missionaries from America, from everybody, that they go to places that don't belong to the piece of shit. Missionaries to me are the lowest of the low. These people are despicable, immoral, and a pieces of shit asshole. That's why I detest them. Because they are the cause of a lot of problems in the world, imposing their mental illness on everybody else. They rape, they kill, and they get money. And they sell all the supposed salvation for everybody. And they corrupt the mind of people. They keep them ignorant and stagnated so they can actually give them money. All the missions and all that. They are despicable people. And they are the cause of all the problems and enmity in the world. And they start, they're killing everybody. They start people are not Christians and all that. And in Sudan, it became the division, the splitting, the division, and all that. And then you have the Christian missionary piece of shit. It's amazing because they consider blacks inferior. Christians have always considered that slavery, blacks are inferior, and the gays are evil, and you're satanic, and the Jews killed Christ, and all that crap. And they keep stagnating, and science is evil, and evolution doesn't exist, and it's bad, and it's demonic, and all that crap. And these assholes are the cause of all the problems in the world today. And then they had all this for 50, even more, 50, 60 years, more than that. Sudan was divided between the Muslims on the north and the other. And the missionaries came around with the missions, trying to push this stuff to get people fight and fight and fight. And the nuns came around, and priests came around, and the Christ-psychotic imbeciles came around too. And they caused all the problem. All the civil war is caused because of Christianity, Christ-psychosis. And then, now we have a new nation, a Christ-psychotic infected nation. Keep people ignorant, give them drugs so they can actually see Christ and crap and suck your dick because of stupid. That's the way you control people, ignorance, with drugs and corrupting the mind of children. These people are immoral and despicable. There's no morality in Christianity. It's a mental illness that nobody sees. It's a schizophrenia that we have to extirpate for the human mind. We are evolved mutated primates that create God and the rest of delusion with our brains when the brains malfunction or are ignorant. And this is the problem. And now the Christ-psychotic British is still at it. They love to sell lies. Lies. Because you control the population with religious garbage and lies, just like the Christians been doing for 1700 years, and the Muslims and everyone that believes in all this religious garbage. They control people because they're stupid. Keep them ignorant and give them little fairy tale fantasies which are very soothing and very nice. And now guess who is in control of that? Rupert Murdoch. With all the lies and all doctored things, start hacking all the telephones and all of his news and the time, all that piece of shit imbecile. Very smart, but conniving, just like the Christians, and like the Vatican, and like all the assholes, like the Muslims, in all the preachers and all that they control people with lies, like Fox News, that they control the population, all the politician pieces of shit that are so fucking ignorant, like Bachman and the rest of them, of the psychotic idiots. And this is exactly what happened. So you have Murdock, very smart, controlling everything, selling lies. You know who sells lies too and distorts history, because the Christian has been doing it for a long time? The BBC, National Geographic. I love the History Channel. I cringe every time I see the BBC, all the fucking historical lies that they switch and change and they don't even tell. Perhaps because they're very ignorant and very stupid and they don't do research. Well, I do. And like they say, the more you know, the more difficult it is for others to lie to you. They don't lie to me. Dude, they're nothing but liars, pieces of shit, morons, all Christian psychotic idiots.
And sell some of these British papers.
Lying to people all the time, corrupting the mind of children with lies.
The company,
like all Christians do.
He's an older, has gotten to this point, really. A lot of his
it's a piece of shit, Christ-psychotic imbecile. The only thing you like is
old business.
Is power.
And they should focus on film and
Christ-psychotic infected Britain, the British Empire.
Pretty good assessment of a small incident, whether a break-in at a hotel versus
of course, the guy's a
small incident.
Damn liar.
This often,
yes, the news,
one road
you sell lies and lies and lies.
The drip of news.
And of course, Rupert Murdoch is just almost like the reincarnation of Gordon, Chinese Gordon they call it. This piece of shit, Christ-psychotic imbecile, the Bible thumper that lost his head. They chop his head off. I wish they would have, cut his balls and put it in his mouth, like in some South American countries do to these pieces of shit invaders. Christian pieces of shit that have no business in somebody else's country and a nation that have different beliefs and different psychosis that they have. So here. Gordon, the arrogant, petulant, British, Christ-psychotic, Protestant imbecile, look at his outfit. He had assumed the title of Pasha in Egypt, a piece of shit Christian asshole, assuming an Islamic title, like a total asshole. And then he went to Khartoum in the Sudan. And guess what happened? They came the Bin Laden, the Mahdi, the God-appointed one. And he ended up crushing this piece of shit, chopping his head off, and cutting his head off and putting it in the city of Khartoum. That's what happened. And of course, the poor guys didn't have any chance, and all the British and the Christian asshole invaded the country, and now we have fighting the Christians got in the south, and the Muslims on the north of Sudan, and there was constant fighting for years, and 50, 60, 80 years. All this, the reason of these fights was the Christ psychosis, the infection, believing in all this garbage. And then now, July 10th, 2011, we have a new nation, South Sudan. And Franklin Graham, that piece of shit Christian imbecile, going over there. So he's supporting all these people in South Sudan. All killing each other thanks to the goddamn Christ psychosis. The mental illness nobody sees. Believing in resurrecting zombies, and the other believes in flying prophets. Muhammad. And speaking of slavery, does anybody notice about Christ-psychotic infected Protestant Michelle Bachmann, the lunatic woman running for president, and the other stupid Catholic Christ-psychotic Santorum, the other piece of shit with their head up their ass. They're so ignorant. And they're still talking about the slavery, marriage during slavery that was so good and was better than blacks were treated better, being men and women. The pieces of shit assholes, Santorum and Bachmann, don't know anything about slavery. The slaves didn't have marriage, and they were divided. You bought the slaves. They were slaves. They had no rights to marriage. That were for the Christ-psychotic imbecile masters. This is how stupid these people are. They're so ignorant. It's pathetic to have assholes like that running for president against a really brilliant summa cum laude man, which is President Obama. But he's black, so he's, you know, they are racist pieces of shit, all these Republican assholes. There's the fault. And this is the problem with them. They're all Christ-psychotic infected imbeciles and very stupid. They belong in mental institutions. And they should take history lessons and get their brains fixed. Now, let's go back to Gordon, the new Christ-psychosis infected nation of Sudan, South Sudan. Again, go back to Gordon. The Christ-psychotic infected imbecile that lost his head. Or by the Mahdi, the old Bin Laden, 1884. This is a nice piece of land the Christ-psychotic infected British got. Let's not forget, those who ignore the past or don't know the past are condemned to repeat it. And this is exactly what's happened. So here is a history lesson for you guys, so you know why we have Bin Laden, why we have the problems in Afghanistan, why everybody hates the Crusaders, the new Crusaders, the Americans, why they hate us all over the place, and why they have all these drug problems they have over there, and why they keep, everything is explained if you read history. So you go back into the past and understand it and connect the dots, which that's what I do. So everything that I present is based on facts. So let's put all this Christ-psychotic nuts in the mental institutions they belong. We create God with the brain. There's no such a thing as God. It does not exist without the brain to create it. This idiot, right? So, hey, toast to the new Christ-psychotic nation of South Sudan. Hopefully they'll have some good atheists over there as teachers, and they will actually, you know, telling the children that there's such a thing as a Jesus Christ or anything like that, or Winnie the Pooh that don't exist, and they themselves can kick all the piece of shit American Christian psychotics like Frank and Graham out of their country. Kick the piece of shit out of the country. All these missionaries pieces of shit, kick him out and place him in a mental institution and say, we don't allow lunatics over here corrupting children's, because they corrupt the children's brain. So, patch of the orb.